Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Game Patrol. We are back. It's another week. The console launch week has passed. People have had some Xboxes and PlayStations in their homes, all 47 of them, because there's no consoles to be found, and scalpers took them all and are selling them for over $1,000. But to the few people that do own next-gen consoles, they're out. They've been here, and last week we talked about Xbox because the PlayStation just dropped, and now the PlayStation has been out in the wild for a week, and we are here to talk all about that today, along with some other cool stuff. I'm your host, Landon Plumley, and joining me once again, good old Trace Griffiths. How you doing, buddy?
How'd it do?
And we've got a new buddy today. Got good old Justin Gephardt. Introduce yourself, buddy. Justin? All right, Justin's a little shy, but we
Oh, wait, hold on. It disconnected me for literally as you were introducing me, it disconnected me.
Gotcha.
So I'm back though.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, Justin, that's me. Happy to be here. Let's hope I stay in.
All right. So, yeah, Justin and I have been friends for a really long time, and he's a good buddy. And so I figure since this is your first time on the podcast, maybe tell a little bit about your game and self, your experience, what do you play on, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just a little intro.
I have been a long time PlayStation player. I've been playing since PS2 came out. I never actually got to own a PS2. That's a little fun fact. I'll talk about how much I love the PS2, but it was actually a friend of mine owned a PS2, and so I would play his. But then I did get a PS3 and PS4, all of that. And I'm really big into open world games. I mean, I could tell you how much I played Skyrim, Fallout, all those games. I am actually, it's kind of funny right now, I'm actually really into, I don't know if either of you played Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
But it's free on PS Now right now, so I got my hands on that, and I've been really grinding in that. But, I mean, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, all right. And to clarify, none of us have PS5s. That was part of my little rant about scalpers, because there's no way. I'm hoping to pick one up Thanksgiving. That's the hope. I know for those of you, I would heavily recommend to anybody out there that's looking for a PS5 or a Series X or S or whatever, or any of these new hot holiday items, go follow IGN Deals on Twitter. The commerce team over at IGN have been doing an amazing job keeping up with these things, but Walmart is going to start selling PS5s and Xbox Series X's on the 25th, and that's going to happen at 7 p.m. Eastern. And they've been popping up. Both Xboxes and PlayStations have popped up every once in a while on the internet, and IGN is very quick to get on that. And so definitely follow them, turn on some notifications if you have the money for a new console and are waiting to get one and are trying really hard. Those are the places to go, because it really is 30 seconds and then they're gone. And so, but IGN Deals is really good about finding those things. I don't know how they do it, but their commerce team really good. And there are some other sites as well that do that sort of thing, that you should really keep an eye on for trying to find these new consoles. But we will get into the games coming this week. Honestly, this is kind of a slow week. I think with all of the busyness that was last week with our 2 console launches, I think right now everybody's kind of recovering a little bit. But we still got some cool stuff coming out. Tomorrow, Katamari Damacy Reroll releases on PS4 and Xbox One. This originally came out on the PC and Switch. I believe it was almost a year ago. I think it was last December. But the beloved roll-em-up game returns with fully updated graphics, completely recreated cutscenes, and in full HD. So, yeah, this was a kind of cult classic that came out a while back, and then they came out with this remaster basically last year, and now it's coming to more consoles. And so if you are into kind of the fun indie puzzly platformer type games, this is one for you. Also out tomorrow, this is the big one, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity comes out on the Switch tomorrow. Join the struggle that brought Hyrule to its knees. Learn more about Zelda, the Four Champions, the King of Hyrule, and more through dramatic cutscenes as they try to save the kingdom from calamity. The Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game is the only way to see firsthand what happened 100 years ago. This is a big one. The reviews finally dropped just a little bit ago, and they're really good. People are really excited about this. This is kind of the Switch's big game in what's been a chaotic and weird year. And so it seems people are really satisfied with it. There's a free demo out now that you can play if you're curious about it. But I'm interested, Justin, I know you have a Switch. Did you ever play the original Hyrule Warriors? Because it came out for the Wii U, but then it got re-released for the Switch. Or do you know about it? What's your experience with this thing?
I have played a little bit of it, but I never really got to play it that much because I actually didn't own it. A friend let me try it. But yeah, so I got my hands on it a little, but haven't really gotten to play it that much.
I've had a similar experience. I played a little bit of the original Hyrule Warriors. I've been meaning to try out the demo for Age of Calamity. I just keep forgetting. But, I loved Breath of the Wild. It was one of my favorite games, period. And so jumping back into that world and like, I never really used to play hack and slash games, but this generation I've really gotten into them with like Devil May Cry and more Devil May Cry because it's just freaking perfect. I love Devil May Cry so much. I love Devil May Cry. So like I'm really into hack and slash games now because of Devil May Cry, and so I'm kind of excited about this. It's probably something I will eventually pick up. I probably won't be playing it right at launch, but yeah, I'm hearing really good things about it. Then on Monday for my PC Master Race friends, which is something I would like to check out, but I probably never will. World of Warcraft Shadowlands is coming out on PC on Monday. This is like the first time I've seen a big release on a Monday. I know it got delayed recently, so this wasn't the original date, but they're like, I guess this is the hill they decided to die on. I don't know. But what lies beyond the world you know? The Shadowlands, resting place for every mortal soul, virtuous or vile, that has ever lived. Pre-purchase the next World of Warcraft expansion now and be ready to discover what awaits in this world between worlds. It's more World of Warcraft. The expansions pretty much always do really well, and so I don't think there's much doubt that this will be good, at the very least. And so I've played a very little bit of World of Warcraft. I'm curious because, Trace, have you ever played World of Warcraft?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But Justin and I's generation...
I don't know. I don't think I have.
I mean, you hear about, like, I know people that were never into gaming that have played World of Warcraft. Like Justin, you and Madison Neer played World of Warcraft?
She did?
Yeah. Everybody's played, like, that free version of World of Warcraft. I'm curious, have you played any, Justin?
No. I don't think I've ever played it. I know what World of Warcraft is, and I've seen, like, footage and videos of it. I don't think I've ever actually, gotten my hands on to try it.
I've been shocked at how many people I know, like, outside of gaming that have played World of Warcraft, like, as a kid growing up. Like, because maybe, like, their older brother had it. Like, that's how she got into it. But, like, yeah, there's that free version. Like, I've played some World of Warcraft, and I would like to get into it. It's just, it's one of those games that it's huge, and it's since you pay via subscription past, like, that first 20 levels or whatever, it's one of those where it's, like, I feel like I need to sit down and commit to a certain, like take a month and just only play World of Warcraft. And, like, it's just one of those things where I don't have the time for that. Maybe if I was still in high school or middle school or something, like, I could do that. But, like, I don't know how adults do that sort of. Like, it's one of those things where if you play World of Warcraft, you only play World of Warcraft. But, it's a cool thing, and, like, I respect it. And it's, getting some more stuff on Monday of all the days. But, yeah. Then on Tuesday, Football Manager 2021 is coming out on PC. New additions and game upgrades deliver added levels of depth, drama, and football authenticity. FM21 empowers you like never before to develop your managerial prowess and command success at your club. Between this game and there's another one that's similar to it. I don't know, but I'm shocked that manager sims are as popular as they are, but for some reason they are. I don't know, like, the amount of people that play these Farming Simulator. There we go. I mean, it's not quite the same, but the amount of people that love Farming Simulator and like this, like Football Manager, like it's kind of crazy to me, but go off. I mean, if you like it, go ahead. Like if you want to manage a football team and spend hundreds of hours doing that and you call that a fun time, okay, have at it. But that's a thing. Yeah. These games come out every year. So there you go. I guess if you really love managing football, you got a new one you can try out on Tuesday. You can manage, slightly different teams now. Good for you. Woo! So those are the games coming out this week. Like I said, it's a little bit slower. We had just massive stuff last week because of the release of the new consoles, and so now things are kind of calming down a little bit, letting people breathe and play all their new fancy toys that, like I said, a few dozen people got. But getting into the gaming news this week, again, kind of slow, but I would say the biggest is that the Game Awards 2020 nominees have been announced, and I thought we could have a cool little discussion about that, and so specifically about the Game of the Year nominees. Their cutoff, I don't remember the specific date, but the actual event will be held December 10th, so Cyberpunk is obviously not going to be a part of that conversation. It is past the breakout point. A big thing last year was that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was not included. It was past the cutoff point for nomination approval, and it has appeared this year as, I believe it was nominated for Best Action Adventure, which is honestly kind of a disservice. I think if it would have met the thing, I think it would have been a Game of the Year nominee. A lot of people consider Jedi Fallen Order, myself included, to be one of the best games of last year. And so to see it, not only carry over to the next year where it's probably not going to win Best Action Adventure because people have kind of moved on from it, but, not even get a Game of the Year nomination, it's kind of sad. But Cyberpunk is part of that group as well. It's not going to be considered for any of these. But 6 games have been nominated for Game of the Year, including Animal Crossing's New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. And so, go around the panel, starting with you, Justin. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think anything got snubbed? Do you you have a guess as to what'll win? What are your thoughts?
I think they're pretty good nominations. I think I'm honestly, one thing that confuses me, but I'm also not surprised, is seeing Animal Crossing there, because it is so different compared to the rest of them. Yeah. Yet it also was so big, globally. Yeah. But I think honestly, I haven't actually gotten my hands on Last of Us Part 2. I've just been really busy. I have had it spoiled for me, so I know what happens. So I was a little upset about that. But I think just from what I've heard about that game and having played Halo, I think it's either going to be Last of Us Part 2 or Halo. But I am curious. Not Halo. Yeah, okay. Not Halo. What did I say? Doom.
Doom. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, not Halo. Okay. And what I've gotten to, yes, I have played Doom. But what I want to hear more about is Hades, because I have seen things about it, and it's not the type of game I'd play, but I'm curious about it. It caught my attention, and I kind of really wanted to get it. So I don't really know much about Hades, though.
So Bakel and I have talked a little bit about Hades. Bakel's talked a little bit about Hades. I say that because I've talked a lot about Hades on this podcast. Hades, out of these picks, personally, my favorite game this year so far is Half-Life Alyx, but they weren't progressive enough to put a VR game in the Game of the Year nominees. But if it doesn't win best AR or best VR game, I will move out of the country. But anyway, Hades is my pick out of all of these. And I don't know, since it's an indie game, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't win, but it is my pick out of these. It is absolutely amazing. So you say I don't know if you should get it, you should 100% get Hades. It is amazing. It is the game so it's a roguelite, and that's kind of a genre that a lot of people don't touch. They're just it's not for me. But this is the roguelite that people who don't like roguelites play. I know people who hate roguelites that love Hades. It's just amazing. Like every little bit of it, it is a freaking masterpiece, and it is so much fun. I've played a ton of it. I love it to death. 100%. Like it is deserving of Game of the Year out of these picks. But there are amazing games. Like I have played every single one of these, haven't I? Yeah, I've played every single one of these games, and out of all of them, there are a lot of great games in here. But Hades. But Trace, what are your thoughts on these picks?
Actually, Animal Crossing is one of the things that I was gonna pick out. It's because for the longest time, Animal Crossing was a game that went across my school, and for some reason, it is now being brought back up. I don't know why, but it is. But other
Probably
than
because of the winter update.
yeah, probably. But other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, Animal Crossing is definitely an interesting choice, and I think that there's plenty of plausibility that it could win Game of the Year, because it's basically not that Animal Crossing is inherently political, but it is the political game, because the reason it was so successful was because of the pandemic. It came out in the perfect time when everything was locked down and nobody could go anywhere. They had Animal Crossing. And so it was 100% because of everything going on in the world that made it as successful as it was, and that's why it earned the spot on Game of the Year. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing game, but, like, it definitely was elevated by that, and it's one of those things that, like, I don't think it'll win Game of the Year, but that is 100% why it could. And so I feel like, I don't know, I'll read off, there's a bunch of stuff, and I voted, so if you don't know how the Game Awards works is there's a certain percentage where it's like, I don't know, you can vote on all of these categories at their website, and they take a percentage, like they take the popular vote and they like mix it in with a panel of judges that vote on their picks, and like they have them all together, so it's a mix of both judges picking Game of the Year and popular vote. So it's kind of a weird system, but that's how they do it. But you can go vote on these, and I voted on all of them. But I think Animal Crossing I would assume it would be nominated for Best Family Game. I'm trying to find it now. Yeah, it is. Personally, my pick in that category is a different game. But for those interested, I'll really quickly run off all the nominations because there's a bunch of categories. But for Best Game Direction, they've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and The Last of Us Part 2. For Best Narrative, they have 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which is a really underrated game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. For Best Art Direction, they have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, phenomenal game, and The Last of Us Part 2. Best Score in Music, they have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. Which Doom Eternal soundtrack slaps. Just Doom in general.
Yeah. I love the Doom soundtrack.
They kill it in the music department. For Best Audio Design, they got Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and The Last of Us Part 2. For Best Performance, they have Ashley Johnson as Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2, Laura Bailey as Abby in The Last of Us Part 2, which I really hope she wins because she deserves it a lot, especially after all the death threats she's gotten because of that game.
Yeah, I heard about that.
She needs a win. She needs a win this year. Daisuke Tsuji, don't know if I pronounced that right, as Jin in Ghost of Tsushima, Logan Cunningham as Hades in Hades, and Naji Jeterm as Miles Morales in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, who I think might possibly be. I think, again, like, a lot of times this will, like, the awards become political, and so I think because of the state of the world, I think there's a good chance that he wins in that. Not because he doesn't deserve it, but I think that is definitely a part of it. But definitely did really good. Miles Morales is a really cool game. But Games for Impact, if found, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Spiritfarer, Tell Me Why, and Through Darkest of Times. Best ongoing game, we have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. I really hope Fortnite doesn't win.
I was just about to say the same thing.
My vote goes for Warzone. I know Fortnite is like a huge, like, monumental game, and I respect all that it's done for the industry, but let it die. Let it die.
My vote will definitely be going to No Man's Sky, just because of how much those developers have put into it for free. Like, all the updates they released have not been charged.
True.
And
I think in terms of like most work done. Like I think No Man's Sky, like Hello Games are the developers, right? They have put in the most work out of all these devs, and like they have done the best work. Personally, if I had to pick like my favorite game in 2020, like to play in 2020, I would go with Warzone. No Man's Sky, I personally liked it as it was originally. Like I'm not a huge fan of all the building stuff and everything, but that's just not my personal cup of tea, so like I respect it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if No Man's Sky won, to be honest, because they have done a lot of really cool things and players have been really happy about it. And you know, that's why I got the nomination. But best indie game, we have Carry On, Fall Guys, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer. Man, if Fall Guys got the dub, that'd be pretty nice.
Hearing Fall Guys really in that mix is just funny.
Yeah. I mean, if Hades doesn't win best indie game, I'll riot to that. I mean, Spelunky 2 has a lot of hype as well, but man, you stick Hades in that category and it's just poof, it's like a giant in there. And basically that developer, like, yes, they are technically an indie developer, but they've made so many huge games, like not necessarily big, but like well-known games like Transistor. I was picturing it, but I couldn't think of the name. But Transistor, there's some other ones that I can't think of right now, but they're a well-known developer, and it's almost a shame to keep calling them indie devs, even though that is technically what they are. But Supergiant is just great. But
you know one thing that I just remembered?
What?
I'm on the podcast and Bakel's not. There's no beef. Just still trying to put that out there.
So Bakel is currently spending time with his mother, so I can't argue with that. You know, he needs to do that because I said I wanted my boyfriend back, and then she says I want my son back, and I was like, fair point. There you go. So I couldn't fight that, but but there's no beef between them, I promise. And they are not the same person. I know you haven't seen them together in the same room, but yeah. But anyway, so best debut game we have, because there's a ton of categories. We got Carry On, Mortal Shell, Raji, and Ancient Epic, Roki, and Phasmophobia. Personally, my pick goes to Mortal Shell, but Phasmophobia might take the cake because it's gotten a lot of traction. But yeah. Best mobile game, we got Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, and Pokemon Cafe Mix. It's Among Us. Among Us is going to win. Best community support goes to Apex.
Yeah, we don't got to talk about any
It's not even my favorite mobile. It's not even my favorite game on the list. Like, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Genshin Impact. But, like, it's going to win because of notoriety. But, like, I guarantee it gets 90% of the votes, popular votes. But best community support, we got Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and Valorant. That one, No Man's Sky deserves to win 100%. Because community support, I mean, again, like you said, with all of the support they've given over this past year especially, yeah.
The community made them a billboard.
Yeah.
Did you see that when that happened?
I haven't actually.
Yeah. It was actually probably maybe earlier this year or later last year. They had added so much to the game and the community. They were like, well, we got to thank them because they've been doing this all for free. So they started like this big fund, and a whole bunch of people donated money to build a billboard that said, "Thank you, Hello Games."
That's awesome. But yeah, No Man's Sky deserves that one. For best VR/AR game, we've got Dreams, Half-Life Alyx, Marvel's Iron Man VR, Star Wars Squadrons, and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Which this category, I'll say real quick, like, it's always one where it's like you've got some duds in there because there aren't a lot of great VR games right now. But each year there are just more and more great games. Like, again, Half-Life Alyx is a shoo-in, but The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is also so freaking good, and I love that game.
That was the one. Is that the one I played at your house? That was really good.
Yeah, it's an amazing VR game. Marvel's Iron Man VR, it got kind of mixed reactions, but as a Marvel fan, I really loved it. Star Wars Squadrons, an amazing flight sim, and Dreams, like being able to play that. Like, there's so many cool VR games this year. Like, this is the turning point for VR, like a lot of people predicted. I don't think we're at like the peak of where VR will be, but this is definitely a turning point for VR this year, and I think we're only going to go up from here, and it's going to be really, really awesome. But yeah, Half-Life Alyx for sure. But innovation and accessibility, so this is basically games that have done a lot to make them more accessible to people who have certain disabilities. We've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Grounded, Hyperdot, The Last of Us Part 2, and Watch Dogs Legion. Which personally, I would go with Assassin's Creed Valhalla because the amount of accessibility features in that game are insane. Like I have it, and so I've been playing it, and just looking through the options menu, like there's a ton of things you can change to make it as accessible as possible. And just Ubisoft in general has been doing really well with that. The Last of Us Part 2 had some really cool accessibility options as well. But best action game, we're still going. We got Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4. Best action-adventure game, we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost Tsushima, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and The Last of Us Part 2.
That's a big lineup.
It's a stacked list. I mean,
that is big.
Yeah, I mean, the both of us, we're action-adventure junkies, so, like, this is our jam. But, yeah. Like, a bunch of open world games. Like Star Wars is such a good game. Miles Morales, like I can't wait to get my hands on that game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is like Ghost Tsushima meets God of War. It's not perfect, but like what?
You've been streaming that, right?
Yeah.
I keep seeing you pop up streaming. I keep meaning to check in, but it's always like I'm in the middle of class and you pop up.
It's all good. But yeah, I've been streaming a bunch of Valhalla lately. That's kind of because with the launch, like I played through Bug Snacks and the Pathless, and I'll talk a little bit about those later on. Bug Snacks is so much fun, man. Why play COD?
I don't know, I keep seeing these things come about Bug Snacks, and I don't know what it is.
It's so good. You gotta play Bug
Bro,
Snacks.
Bug Snacks is amazing to watch Landon play.
It's a lot of fun.
I have to watch you play.
I beat the game. I did all that fun stuff, but it's the game Octodad that came out.
Yeah.
It's their next game. And it's freaking fantastic. It's basically like if Pokemon Snap and the regular Pokemon franchise had a baby. You just catch Bug Snacks all day, but then it has a really deep story, and it's just really awesome. Like everybody on the island is like depressed for some reason. It's just it gets deep. It gets really deep. Like you have a feeling of existential dread while playing the game, and it's like but in a good way, But and then
it's entertaining to watch. It's very entertaining to watch.
But the ending has a lot of shooter elements, and so one of my YouTube viewers was like, best FPS 2020, and I was like, yeah, because everybody's playing COD right now. It's like, nah, I don't want to play COD. I'm playing the best shooter of 2020, Bug Snacks. Yeah, but no, Bug Snacks is fun. But I've been playing those, and now I'm finally I've beaten both of those games, which are really good, and now I'm like, all right, let's get into Valhalla because it's a freaking 60-hour game. It's enormous. And so I'm like, all right, now I can focus because I've gotten through the other games that came out this week, and now I can just get with Valhalla. Until I get a PS5, then it's just Demon Souls. That's all I care about.
Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Hey, Landon, you trying to buy me the PS5?
Hell no. Hell no. I can't even find one myself. Why would I give it? Nah. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, all that, yeah. Ghost Tsushima, amazing. One of my favorite games of the year. Ori, amazing. The Last of Us Part 2, I know it's got, like, people talk, and, like, I'm not necessarily saying, I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. I never beat it, which says something on its own. But, it's there. But, yeah, like I said, Star Wars, huge game from last year. But best RPG, we've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. All awesome games. Best fighting game, we've got Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows, and Under Night In Birth EXE Late CL-R. Never heard of that game in my life. Fighting game is definitely the least represented category every year. Like, there's always like 2 or 3 big fighting games, and then the rest are just, yeah. I saw some people get really upset because they're like, One Punch Man was a terrible game, and it got nominated for Best Fighting Game of the Year, which, like, okay, there aren't a lot of fighting games, but they were saying that they should have specific judges for each category versus one all-knowing judge, like, nominating these games, because it's like, it just kind of seems like the judges don't play fighting games, and so they just looked at the biggest ones versus what's actually necessarily best. Because what was it? Them's Fighting Herds, which was an indie fighting game that was actually going to be at EVO before it got canceled because of COVID. They're like, why is this not on here when One Punch Man is? And so there's been some kerfluffle about that. But anyway, best family game, we've got Animal Crossing New Horizons, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, which is my personal pick, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario The Origami King. So, honestly, a lot of cool, like, family-oriented games. I don't know why Bugsnax isn't on this list, but it's whatever. It's whatever.
Right.
It's whatever. But best sim/strategy game, we've got Crusader Kings 3, Desperados 3, Gears Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and XCOM Chimera Squad. A lot of really good games on that list. Crusader Kings 3 is freaking massive, and Microsoft Flight Simulator is just...
amazing.
Yeah. Best sports/racing game, Dirt 5, F1 2020, FIFA 21, 2K21, NBA 2K20, but you know what I mean. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I know it's a remake, but if Tony Hawk does not take it, I will be severely upset.
Not gonna lie, I would be too.
I mean, come on, man. Everybody loved it. There's not a single person alive that played this game that came, like the remake, and didn't love it, you know? So
My sister's boyfriend actually got it for his birthday.
Yeah, it's
and ended up grinding it. I think he said he played it for over 70 hours.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. I have the original Pro Skater for the original PlayStation. I'll whip it out since I have it right here. I was actually playing that. It was not long after the remake came out. I said, "Yo, guys, I'm over here playing playing Tony Hawk," and it was like the original. Yeah, there we go. I got the original PlayStation copy right here. Look at that. From, I think it was like 99 is when it came out. It was like the year I was born. But yeah, it was 19.
Protect that. That's a relic.
Yeah, she's old, but she's
a beauty.
She definitely could have used the remake, so I'm glad they did it. But yeah, so best multiplayer game, there's still like 7 more categories. Best multiplayer game, we've got Animal Crossing New Horizons. If that wins, my God, the multiplayer's terrible on that. Multiplayer on any Switch game.
Yeah, the multiplayer is.
Yeah.
It's so.
Yeah.
That is. Okay, I could talk for days about that. So it's fine.
There's issues with that. But Among Us, Call of Duty Warzone, Fall Guys, and Valorant.
I feel like Among Us is gonna take it today.
I don't know. I think like
I can see Fall Guys.
I think Among Us, Warzone, and Fall Guys all have an equal shot because of just how big they were. I think Warzone has been the best.
Really, is being.
Yeah. Let's go
Valorant is really.
Yeah. They didn't. I mean, if Valorant would have released on other systems and gained more popularity, like, don't get me wrong, Valorant's an amazing game, but I've played some of it, but it didn't have that notoriety, and so, like,
I remember I saw footage and videos of Valorant, and I really wanted to play it, but I just didn't have a good enough PC, and I was like, if that would come to PlayStation, I'd definitely be buying it.
Yeah. It's definitely the 2020 CSGO. Like, the fact that CSGO is as popular as it is after 8 years is nuts, but if anything will succeed it's Valorant.
Yeah.
And so, but it just doesn't have that notoriety. It's going to be a huge esports game for a long time, of course, but, you know, personally, I would say my guess would be Warzone, just because I think out of all of them, it has been consistently the biggest. I think Among Us and Fall Guys both had peaks, but then have died down, whereas Warzone has kind of stayed consistently up there. And so that's why I would go with that. But I'm not necessarily super confident about that. But then we've got a bunch of, kind of content creator esports stuff. Like Content Creator of the Year, we've got Alana Pierce, woot woot, J.N. Lopez, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, cool. Tim the Tatman, Fall Guys fame, and Valkyrie. Yeah. Got Best Esports Athlete, Ian Crimsix Porter, Hio Showmaker Sue, Kim Canyon, Gian Boo, Anthony Shotzi, Cuevas Castro, and Matthew Ziwu Herbout. Best Esports Coach, we got Danny Zonic Sorensen, Daehee Krusty Park, Fabian Grabs Lohman, Lee Zifa Jamin, and Raymond Rambo Lussier. For Best Esports Event, we've got Blast Premier Spring 2020 European Finals, Call of Duty League Championship 2020, IEM Katowice 2020, League of Legends World Championship 2020, and Overwatch League Grand Finals 2020. And for Best Esports Game, we got Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, like I said, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Valorant. I love all the memes that have been coming out recently about just everybody making fun of League of Legends players. I don't know where this came from, but I just keep seeing it a lot lately. I don't know, like, because I just hear, like, one of my best friends, he has a suite mate where he can just hear at 4 a.m. some dude screaming because he plays League of Legends then. And so you just hear him it's funny. But, yeah.
I've tried to get into League of Legends. I just can't. There's like no way I can.
It doesn't seem like my type of game, but it's one of those where I do want to try it at some point. It's just it doesn't seem like my thing. But for Best Esports Host, we got Alex Goldenboy Mendez, Alex Machine Richardson, FG Skokes Deportery. Yep, you know I pronounced that wrong, but you know where I'm going with that. James Dash Patterson. Jorian Sheaver Vander Hageden. Yep, there you go.
Amazing.
For Best Esports Team, we got Damwon Gaming, Dallas Empire, G2 Esports, San Francisco Shock, and Team Secret. And those are the nominees for Game Awards 2020.
Wow.
Took me
Okay,
like 20 minutes.
I'm going to use this as an opportunity. I have to get going.
Yep.
It has been a pleasure being part of it, and I hope next time I'll be able to stay for the whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here and your stuff.
It's amazing to have you for however long we had you for.
For the past 36 minutes.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. And we will see you next week, hopefully. And, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But, all right. So, getting into the next topic, we've got Call of the Sea, which was a game that was showcased when they were first showing off Series X games. It is now getting a December release. It is coming out December 8th, 2020, and will launch on Game Pass. Really cool little indie game people have been sort of excited about. And so, you know, plus, like I said, it's coming to Game Pass, so you don't need, I mean, if you get Game Pass, you don't need to pay any money for it. And so I think that'll be a cool thing when people get done with, like, their fun launch games or whatever. This will be releasing pretty much right when that happens, so they have something new to dig their teeth into that they might not have previously thought of. You know, something to test out their Xbox. But also, Halo Infinite is supposed to get a high-level update coming soon, but it's not going to make the Game Awards. And so, recently on Reddit, 343 Industries Community Director Brian Gerard, he said, quote, "Full disclosure, we don't have anything planned for the VGAs, but we are hoping to offer at least a high-level update within the next few weeks so we can kind of restart this journey together after the holidays." So, looks like we're going to have some sort of update after Halo Infinite, which comes after the big delay. We haven't heard anything since. Some people are theorizing, which I don't know necessarily, that we're going to get some multiplayer info. Because I think the biggest thing that's being reworked right now is the campaign. I think that's the thing that has caused the delay. I feel like the multiplayer is probably fairly solid, hopefully, at this point. So I agree that I think the next thing we're going to see from Halo is talk of the multiplayer, because we haven't seen anything of it. And so I think we'll see some of that. We'll probably see some stuff about, you know, how it's going to be free and separate, and how it's going to utilize 120 FPS, that sort of stuff. Maybe we'll get some information about that, some first looks, all that kind of stuff. But we're supposed to get it by the end of the year. So, yeah. Get some cool new Halo info. Then, Neo 1 and 2 Remastered have been announced for PS5, plus Neo 2 is coming over to the PC. This is actually something I was curious about, because I remembered that Neo came to the PC about a year after, and so now in the same way, Neo 2 is coming to PC on February 5th, 2021. And so, in total, 4 Neo games are going to be released over 3 different platforms. So on PS5, you can buy the Neo Collection, which has Neo Remastered and Neo 2 Remastered, or you can buy the game separately. And then PS4 and PC players can grab Neo 2, the Complete Edition, which packages the main game with all the expansions. There are 3 of them. And then if you buy the Neo 2 Complete Edition on PS4, you can upgrade to the PS5 Remaster for no additional cost. So they're going to have that upgrade system. If you can't get your hands on a PS5 right now, don't have it, but then eventually do get your hands on one. And so, but yeah, the PS5 remasters are going to support 4K resolution and up to 120 FPS gameplay, which I think is really cool because that's something that not a lot of PS5 games are doing because of the graphical limitations, which we'll talk about here soon. But the PC release of Neo 2 is going to have 4K as well as HDR and 144 hertz monitors with frame rates of up to 120 FPS on capable systems. And then it's also got, the full mouse and keyboard custom mapping and game pads, all that fun stuff. And, they have a unique piece of armor you can get for the PC version. So there you go. But I've played a little bit of Neo 2. It is stupidly hard, but it's a really good game. And so seeing more people be able to play this game, giving this game some more life, all that fun stuff. But I'm curious because I know you had a PlayStation. Have you played either of the Neo games, Trace?
No, I haven't.
I would love to see you play the first Neo. The second one, it's either one. They're basically Dark Souls games.
I just read that my school has another case of COVID.
Yep. COVID's spreading. Wear a mask. But finally, Deathloop has gotten its official new release date. It is coming May 21st, 2021. And so, again, this is going to be exclusive to the PS5 as console. It is a console exclusive, so it's coming to PS5 and PC. It will eventually come to Xbox, which is interesting because Bethesda will be, at this point in time, most likely, will be owned by Microsoft, so Microsoft will be publishing a game exclusively on PS5 and PC. But, it is coming out. We've got that release date. It was supposed to come out, I believe, in November, and then it got delayed, and so now it's coming in May, which I'm excited about because I love Arcane Studios games. I love the Dishonored franchise, and so seeing another game from them, I'm really excited to check it out. I think it's got some really cool stuff in it, and so it's coming in May. It'll be a late birthday present for myself, and so fun stuff. But now let's get into the main topic, 41 minutes in. And so, like I said, last week we talked all about the Xbox. This week we're going to talk all about the PlayStation 5. And so it's been out in the wild for a week, and so we're going to converse and talk all about everything you need to know about this new system because there's honestly a lot to talk about. And so first off, the look of the system. I can't remember, Trace, did we talk about your thoughts on how the PS5 looked? I feel like we did last week. I think you said something.
We talked about the Xbox, the way it looked. Yeah. And how you said if you get an Xbox, you're throwing a ping pong ball on top.
Yeah. But didn't you say that you weren't a fan of the PS5, like how it looked? Or maybe I'm thinking of a different conversation.
I think you are.
Okay, I might be.
I mean, it looks clean, but it's not like what I was expecting. I was expecting like when they first talked about releasing the PS5, I thought it was just going to look like a PS4, just a little bit like cleaner and nicer up. But the way it looks, they're making it look like another PC, just like the Xbox.
Yeah. You're right. They definitely, I think both companies have made it to look more like a PC because of that power that they supposedly pack. And so, yeah, you're definitely right. I know a lot of people have been hating on specifically the physical edition because it has what a lot of people are dubbing the hernia, where it's got like the tower and then it's got the big bump for the disk drive, whereas the digital is a lot more like sleek. And so people have been saying they want to show off the digital edition and they want to hide the disc edition. But I personally like it. I mean, it'll be different once I actually have it in my home and can like see it. But personally, out of the two, I enjoy the PlayStation's design more. Originally, I loved the Xbox's design, but I'm definitely now leaning more towards the PlayStation 5's because I like the white and black contrast, although it would be really sexy to see a full black console, but, I'm sure that'll happen at some point. And, the face things are removable, so we'll probably be able to get our hands on some extra ones. But overall, I personally like the look, but I know a lot of people haven't. But getting into the setup and like different complications that have arisen because of that. So basically what I've heard is you don't want to transfer your data over from the PS4. One, it takes forever. Even when you connect it to a LAN cable, it takes hours to transfer your system data, whereas the Xbox just took maybe a couple minutes. And so overall, and it's been causing a bunch of issues with the system. Some people have had their PlayStations just break because of it. And there's plenty of other related problems with the PS5. For instance, if you have a game running and then you put the game into rest mode, this isn't necessarily for all games, but it has the potential to destroy your hard drive completely. And you have
I was gonna say this. I was watching reviews on it, and this guy got a PS5, and as he got it, it wouldn't even boot up, and then he let it sit for a while. He booted it up, and he couldn't even get his hard drive to work.
Yeah, there's been a lot of issues with the SSDs. There's been other times, like, people have been reporting, like, just hard crashes of the entire system. A lot of times where it won't boot up correctly or just won't boot up, period. There's definitely a lot of problems with the PS5. They have issued out a patch that talks about general performance boosts. They haven't specified what that patch changes, but so people don't know if it's in response to that or if it was something they were already working on or whatever. But there's a lot of issues right now with PlayStations not functioning correctly. Practically none of which are happening to the Xbox. There have been very little incidents with Xboxes, but the PlayStations have been a mess. And so there's been a lot of complications with that. And so basically, a lot of people are recommending that if you have a PlayStation, like, this is going to sound bad, but to use it sparingly. And so not to necessarily test your limits with anything. You know, if you want to play a game, start it up from the bottom. Like, don't put it into rest mode. Start it up. Play, like, get into your game, play it. When you're done with it, shut it all the way down. Like, make sure, like, really just be gentle with your PlayStation, because there's been a lot of issues with it. And even that might, like, you could still run into issues doing all of that. And so it's one of those things where it's like, it's a launch console. This isn't exactly uncommon, but there are definitely plenty of issues right now with people's PlayStations just flat out breaking. And with coronavirus, it makes it very difficult to get it fixed or get a new one or any sort of thing like that.
Replace a part.
Yeah. So it's definitely not the best time for this. It's a very terrible time for this. But again, only like 3 people have one anyway. So, but getting into some more positive aspects of the PS5, because I know I just went through this whole tirade, but there's a lot of really good stuff about this console, and there's reasons why, like, it's the console that I am so eager to get right now versus the Series X. First off, the UI has been completely overhauled, which, like I said last week, it's great that the Xbox has, you know, this smooth transition over, but it's not exactly hard to learn this new stuff. Like the new PlayStation UI, there's a lot of really cool things about it. It looks sleek. It goes a lot faster. You can get around really quickly to whatever you want to do. I really, really like it more so than the PlayStation 4 UI. I hated the old UI. Obviously, I'll have more concrete thoughts once I actually get my hands on the UI. But where I'm at now, it's just like, it just seems a lot easier to get around and a lot more smooth. And everything's just much more simplistic. It's really, really fast to get where you want to go. And instead of having this really like obtrusive in-game menu thing that pops up when you press and hold the PlayStation button on the DualShock 4, with the DualSense, you actually have to press and hold to go all the way back to the main menu. But you just press it once to pull up that in-game overlay, and it's much less obtrusive, and it's really easy to navigate and go where you want to go and do things really quickly, which I think speed is a huge thing with the PS5 because, you know, it has that amazing SSD in it. And so even like down to like a UI basis, I mean, everything is really quick. It's all about getting things done as quickly as possible with as few button pushes as possible. And you know, maybe that's why we're seeing issues with the hard drive, because maybe it's being pushed a little bit past its limits. But everything is fast with this console. It is all about speed. I mean, I've seen things boot up that it literally, like, you go from like starting up your console to swinging around in New York City with Spider-Man Miles Morales in like 10 seconds. And it is absolutely nuts. People are reporting for both the Xbox and PlayStations that the time it takes for the console to start is faster than the time it takes for the TV to start. Like, the TV has become the bottleneck. And so like they have to wait for the HDMI to recognize that a signal is coming to then get it up. Like by the time it broadcasts a signal, your game system is already up and running and ready to go. And so
Which, I mean, that could be a good and a bad thing if you think about it.
How do you say it's a bad thing?
Because, like, say you turn it on and you don't realize you have it turned on, and if they say how quiet it is, you wouldn't hear it being turned on, or you wouldn't hear it being on, so you just wouldn't realize it.
I mean, yeah, that's a valid point in terms of like power consumption and just unnecessarily turning it on and stuff like that. But that could be a problem. It could be something that we see that a lot this generation is just people having consoles on and not even realizing it because of how fast and how quiet it is. But the UI is very sleek, and I really like it. I think it's a huge step up from the last UI. Even though a lot of people loved it, I personally hated it, and so I'm really excited to get my hands on it and check it out myself. But getting more into that SSD, I mean, like I said, it is on paper twice as fast as the Series X, and so it varies on whether the developers take advantage of said game and the types of games, but I meant to pull up an article explaining it, but I definitely forgot. But because I want to try to give you guys some examples of this change and like how fast it is. But I'm now basically stalling until I can find it. But the PS5 SSD can read 5.5 gigabytes in just 1 second. And so it is extremely fast. I'm trying to see if this talks about any specific load times. I don't think this article does itself, which isn't a huge deal. But, here we go. So, let's see. So you could go from powering up from a complete shutdown to perched on top of a Manhattan building you just left Miles Morales on in a mere 45 seconds.
Dang.
And so, but yeah, it is extremely fast. It takes longer to enter a passcode than it does to load a save. And so, yeah, there's literally like some stuff where I know it's like Ghost of Tsushima has an option where you can like turn on loading screens because it goes so fast that you can't read the stuff on the loading screen, so you have an option to turn them on. And so this will definitely, and it produces an interesting problem where it's like there are some games that do utilize loading screens to give tips or different things, like maybe explain the lore or different stuff like that, where it's like, are they going to intentionally make the games load, or are they going to have to find new ways to give out this content? And it's
go on.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like they'll have like little tips that just pop up and then say it, and then they'll go away real fast, and then they'll just slowly pop up and then go away,
Yeah, I think the solution is to have another means of delivery, such as like with a lot of games will have certain stuff like tutorial stuff and just have like messages pop up towards the side of the screen and different things like that. But yeah, it is definitely an interesting problem to have, where the loading is too fast for developers. But yeah, the SSD is insane. But another thing, probably the most, I guess, intriguing and biggest part a lot of people are talking about the PS5 is the DualSense, the controller. A lot of people are calling this controller the best controller ever made. And so it is really excited. So I will quote IGN's review here. So with the DualSense, Sony has both made a more comfortable gamepad for traditional gameplay and introduced some very exciting features. The haptics and adaptive triggers make an immediately noticeable difference in games that make use of them, and they offer the exciting potential for new and interesting gameplay experiences. Except for battery life, which remains a weak point, the DualSense controller is everything you want to see in a next-gen upgrade. So a lot of these things are buzzwords. You get like haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, stuff like that, where when you hear them, you don't think anything of them. But people are reporting that like once you get your hands on this controller and feel it, it is a game changer. basically, like, you can feel differences. Like, the motors, all of the different little motors throughout the controller make it so that you don't just have a standard vibration for things. Different environments and different things that happen in games give different vibrations. So you can tell when you're walking across sand in Astro's Playroom. You can tell when you're clanking on glass. Like, they make different noises and make different feelings for where you're at and what you're doing to really immerse you in the experience. And they're just little things that all build to become a big thing. Because, again, all of these things, like, you can say them and it's like, well, how big of a difference does that really make? It's kind of in the same sense of, like, VR. VR is you know, they're video games. They're not real life. But it's the level of immersion that makes a lot of VR games truly special. And I think in the same sense, the DualSense makes things a lot more immersive through the little things, through the immersion. You get a new experience, and you get a potentially special experience depending on how it's utilized. And so this is definitely something to talk about. And then, you know, we've had so many controllers along the years between PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, all these other companies that, you know, I don't want to say perfected it, but, you know, we know what makes a good controller. And so everything good about controllers that you're thinking of in the past, specifically with, like, DualShocks, you know, it's here. It's just they're continuing to add on new innovations. And so this is a really, really good controller. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Trace.
On like the whole
The DualSense. Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be a good thing with like you being able to like I feel like it'll just be all in general something really nice that you'll have that you didn't have in the past, like controllers or the past like gaming systems.
Yeah.
But then I feel like it could be a negative because you would also have, like, say your controller were to overheat and it could mess up one of your motors, and it could be a motor that you really needed or something, and it could just mess that up, and then you have to go out and buy a brand new controller, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be, we'll see what happens with the DualSense, but so far people are really impressed. However, I will say another bug people are encountering is that the DualSense isn't charging all the way, and sometimes when it is charging, it is still using battery. And so there's been some issues potentially with the DualSense battery itself. And so definitely there's been some issues hardware-wise on Sony's end. But given that we've been in a pandemic all year, it's not exactly, like, out of the realm of absurdity. And so it's, you know, it makes a lot of sense, and it is a bummer, of course, but it's one of those things where, you know, it's not necessarily that avoidable. I mean, I know Xbox has been doing well thus far, but it makes a lot of sense that there are these issues, and hopefully they can be fixed fairly easily and without a lot of pain and suffering from either them or us, the consumers. But we'll see. And so the big thing a lot of people were talking about before, and now has become one of those things where we can finally test, is the power comparison, because the Xbox Series X has reportedly 20% more power than the PS5. Because of that, I mean, the standard for the Series X, you have 4K 60, whereas the PS5 kind of works like an Xbox One X, where you have fidelity modes and performance modes. And so a lot of games you'll see either run at 4K 60 FPS or 4K 30 FPS with ray tracing and other significant lighting textures and lighting effects and different sort of, you know, fancy schmancy fidelity upgrades. And so it's interesting because as far as I'm aware, there aren't any games on the Xbox that do that. Everything is hitting 4K 60. You're getting that ray tracing. You're getting all these cool effects. And so this is one of those things where it's like the PS5 isn't really quite powerful enough to do some of the things that the Xbox can do. But on the other hand, the DualSense is something that the Xbox can't do. Like the PlayStation has an amazing controller that makes it unique. And then with, you know, they can do a lot of stuff that the Xbox can't in that regard. It's kind of similar to the way the Switch is nowhere near the graphical capabilities of PlayStation and Xbox, but it's still doing things that PlayStation and Xbox can't. And so I definitely think the DualSense is a huge win for Sony because of that. They don't have as much power as the Series X. It seems like they're at the point where it's like, it's not one of those, oh, the games are still going to run at the same thing. They might just look a tad bit better on Series X. Like, there's a significant improvement in the Series X versus the PS5, to where they did need something like this to give them an edge. And between this and exclusives, it seems like, the PlayStation 5 has found something where, the Xbox can't say, oh, well, we're more powerful, and that be the end of the argument. And so, but yeah, it's a thing, like, I'm curious, like, Trace, are you one that the Series X is, like, the go-to platform for you because of graphics, or is that something, games, like, what's your point of view in, like, looking at this comparison?
I don't know. I've always grown up on the PlayStation platform. Like, yes, I've played the 360. The 360 was probably one of the better, more or best, whatever, however you want to take it. Like, the best console that I've ever had good. Like, I haven't had a problem with, because I've had problems with the Xbox One. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot easier to use on like PlayStation side, and then with the 360 wasn't too terribly hard, but then it just got weird from there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of times a sort of swap where the 360 fairly well dominated the console wars during its generation, and then the PS4 dominated this past generation, and a lot of people think that with this new generation it will switch back to Xbox because that's just sort of how it tends to go. But I think PlayStation kind of saw that coming. I think that they were not dumb, and they realized that that's how it was heading. Xbox was going to come out swinging, and really take probably some financial losses because of it. I don't know how much it takes to produce a Series X, but it's definitely worth more than $500. And so, but they did that so that they could compete. And so I think, PlayStation knew that, and so they wanted something beyond, graphical capabilities. They wanted something to make them unique, and I think the DualSense and, all their exclusives, I think, is a big way that they're going to have this, and they're going to be able to do this. But speaking in terms of exclusive sides, the PS5 is very similar to how the Xbox One launched. I mean, Xbox One had a lot of exclusives at launch. They had Rise Son of Rome, Dead Rising 3, Forza Motorsport 5?
Horizon 4.
No, Horizon 4 wasn't a launch game. That came out in 2018 or something.
It did?
Yeah, that came out like recently.
Well, I knew they had like Xboxes that you could buy for it, so I wasn't for sure. Or like buy games.
Yeah, they came out with bundles for it. But yeah, it was Forza Motorsport 5 that came out, because they had Motorsport 5, Horizon 3, Motorsport. No, I think it was Motorsport 5, Horizon 2, Motorsport 6, Horizon 3, Motorsport 7, Horizon 4. And then they skipped the last 2 years, and they're working on a new Forza Motorsport. That's probably going to come out next year, maybe, or maybe 2 years down the line. We don't know, but but they have a bunch of launch games very similar to how PlayStation has a bunch of launch games this generation compared to Xbox. But it might not mean anything, 2 years down the line, especially with Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda. However, like I said, they do have, while the launch, I don't think anybody had a super successful launch in terms of, coronavirus really making things muddy. But, they're having a bunch of problems with their consoles right now in the same way that the Xbox, I mean, no one liked the Kinect. It was higher priced. And so they're both having issues. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I thought at the beginning that the PS5 was going to be easily the top console this generation, but with all of the stuff that's been happening the last couple months especially, it's definitely going to be close. I think that this is not a race that has been called just yet. Someone has said, I forget the person, but they have said, it's the first to 10 million. Whoever sells 10 million consoles first, that's who wins the console war. And so it'll be curious to see who does that. and it's not going to be something that happens anytime soon. It's going to be at least 6 months away, probably a year because of the shortage. Xbox has reported that they are looking at having shortages until next fall. So the entire first year, it's supposedly going to be really hard to get an Xbox. PlayStation says they're going to keep up with demand, but we'll see. Xbox said the exact same thing. Xbox said they were not going to have this issue, and now they've come out and said we're having this issue. And so we're not sure if PlayStations are going to have that same problem or not. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm trying to see. There is one more thing to say about the PlayStation 5, and that is something I mentioned last week. It only has 667 gigabytes of usable storage. And I will say there has been an update. So only PS4 games can be stored on an external hard drive. PS5 games cannot be moved to external storage. So
I feel like that could be a good thing, though.
Well, part of it is because they want it to utilize the SSD. And so until they come out with their own SSD, they don't want you moving it to external storage. But that means for all your PS5 games, you only have 667 gigabytes of storage, and you can't upgrade that at all. You can't do it. You have absolutely no way. You can add a terabyte. You can have 2 terabytes of storage on your Xbox Series X, but you have just over 500 gigabytes on your PlayStation. And that's a huge blow. That is a huge blow, especially if you got the digital edition, because then, all your games are digital. You just have to like uninstall and do all that sort of stuff. Whereas, installing things is much faster with a disc because it's all on there. You can just pop that in. So if you got the digital edition, only having 667 gigabytes of storage is ridiculous. It is very ridiculous in 2020. And I know it's because SSDs are really expensive, and that's why neither console had a 2 terabyte option. But I really hope they come out with one either next year or the year after, because that needs to be the new standards. We're at the point where it's like, it's pretty common to see 4 terabyte hard drives, and I know SSDs are different, but it's like we're getting to the point where like 2 terabytes should be the new standard. I mean, we had a terabyte Xbox One, so why are we having the same storage for the Xbox Series X and not even for the PlayStation 5? I mean, we had terabyte PlayStation 4s, but the PlayStation 5 is 802. Or no, 825, sorry. But it's like they couldn't even get a terabyte on their SSD. To be fair, it's extremely fast. And so when you're looking at value, like the PS5's SSD is probably more valuable than the Xbox Series X. I don't know the exact comparison, but it probably costs PlayStation more for those SSDs than the Series X. But it costs them storage, and storage is a big deal. And so it's one of those things where it definitely comes at a cost. But yeah, that's going to wrap up our PS5 talk. We've talked for a while about all of this stuff, but we're going to get into the games that we've been playing this week. I've talked a little bit about all of these already, but first off, I play Bugsnax. I love me some Bugsnax. Everybody needs to go play Bugsnax, especially if you have a PS5. I will also say, I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but if you are planning on getting a PS5 but can't get your hands on one, you can actually basically reserve your free copy of Bugsnax, because it is free with PS Plus right now on PS5, not on PS4, even though Bugsnax is available on PS4. It's only on PS5, but you can reserve your free copy, so when you do get your PS5, you'll have it. So you can do that. I plan on doing that, even though I already played it on PC. I'm excited to play it with the DualSense, and so I'll definitely jump back in once I get my hands on that puppy. But yeah, Bugsnax is so much fun, guys. Like, definitely get your hands on it if you can. But another game, The Pathless, which I beat in one sitting. It was 5 hours, and I absolutely loved it and cannot recommend it enough to people who are fans of Breath of the Wild and or The Journey. Or not The Journey, but just Journey. It's an amazing game. The composer is absolutely amazing. It's the same person who composed for Abzu, Journey, a bunch of other really cool games. I believe What Remains of Edith Finch? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's an amazing composer. The music's spectacular. The gameplay's really fun. The boss battles are some of the like most fun boss battles I've played in a long time. Like they're just really cool, like definitely like Zelda dungeon-esque boss battles that are just very cinematic and really, really cool. So if you're a fan of Zelda games and games like Journey, I would really recommend you play the Pathless because it's really fun. $40 is a bit of an ask for a $5 game, or for a 5-hour game. But there is stuff you can do afterwards. There's more puzzles you can solve and different things like that. It is an open world, but not in the like natural sense. It's kind of a little more like spread out, and there's not quite as, it's not like as filled, but there's things to do, and so you can definitely stretch your time out past that 5 hours and probably get like 10 to 15 hours out of it. Maybe that's not maybe. I would say
That's
probably
if you're lucky.
I would say probably around 10 hours you can squeeze out of it. But like $40 for that is asking a little much. But it is an amazing game, and I would heavily recommend it, especially on sale. Like, that's just a given. But then I've been playing some Assassin's Creed Valhalla, like I mentioned earlier. It's super fun. It's definitely buggy. It's got some issues on the technical side of things, but it's really fun. And I definitely think I've heard a lot of people talking about it and referring to it as a sort of... Oh, I'm blanking on the term. It's just one of those things where it's not necessarily amazing. It's comfort food. There we go. It's a comfort game. It's not necessarily like game of the year or anything like that, but it's a nice, fun, open world to explore. You can try out on your new consoles and just see like, this is what next gen looks like. And so I'm debating picking it up on the PS5, even though I've been playing on PC, just so I can play with the full 4K, all that stuff. And with Ubisoft, it transfers my save, so I could just pick up where I left off on PS5, which is cool. But not 100% sure how I feel about that yet, especially with the PS5's issues right now. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot of really cool references to old Assassin's Creed games sprinkled throughout. Like, I'm getting Assassin's Creed Revelations flashbacks. I'm getting Assassin's Creed 3 flashbacks. Like, it's definitely doing a lot of fan service to that, and I'm here for it. And nobody else is. If you weren't a fan of the Assassin's Creed games, like, they're the worst parts of the game. But to me, an OG Assassin's Creed fan, I freaking love them. And so, but yeah, that's...
That sounds like a game I'm going to have to pick up.
Valhalla is really, really good. Like I said, it's not necessarily game of the year, but it's just really fun. And so, what have you been playing, Trace?
Skater XL. I've been busy with school, and the only game that I can actually squeeze in that I know won't have to worry about saving or don't have to worry about doing this or that, it's Skater XL, because like when I sit here, when I'm normally sitting at my desk, I'm either A, working on homework, or B, talking to friends, and that's only for like a few hours, and then I hop on my homework, so I don't really have much to do but play Skater XL.
Yeah, and Justin mentioned earlier he's been playing a lot of Hollow Knight, so I know I can say that for him. But yeah, that'll about wrap things up this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching / listening / whatever you've been doing. Yeah, like I said, we talked about PlayStation. Next week, I think we'll have some really cool discussions now that like the dust has really settled, and we'll have some time with both consoles and really, talk about what this generation has been like. But yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, adios.